There's a very specific moment when you're planning a vacation that I think everyone listening can relate to it.
Oh, yeah.
It's that moment the dream just crashes right into the spreadsheet. You've booked the flights to Oahu. You're having these cinematic visions of snorkeling with turtles, watching the sunset, but then you open Google Maps.
And you see the red lines
Yeah.
all over the H1 freeway.
Exactly. You look at the drive times, you realize you have to figure out parking at Pearl Harbor, which I hear is a total nightmare. You start trying to get reservation slots, and suddenly that relaxing getaway,
Hmm.
it starts to feel a lot less like a vacation and a lot more like project management.
It really is the classic traveler's paradox, isn't it? We spend all this money to escape stress, but the actual execution of the perfect trip often creates more cognitive load than the jobs we're trying to get away from.
That is the perfect term for it, cognitive load. And that is exactly where we're aiming our flashlight today. We are doing a deep dive into a very specific solution for this Oahu logistical puzzle. We're looking at a multi-day tour package from a company called Halia Private Tours. But, and stick with me here, we aren't just reviewing a tour. We are analyzing the specific economic structure they're offering.
Right. This isn't just book a van for a day. This is a bundle.
It's a buy 2 full days, get the third day 50% off deal. So our mission today is to figure out if that bundle is actually a value hack for a family or if it's just a clever way to get you to overspend.
Right.
We have the official offering details, the fine print on the pricing, all the itinerary options, and a stack of customer reviews from people who have actually, swiped their cards for this.
And we really need to be critical here because the
Right.
second you see 50% off, your brain just lights up.
Mhm.
But we have to look at that base price. Is this a deal or is it kind of a luxury trap?
But let's start right there. Let's talk about the money, because when I first pulled up the source material and saw the sticker price, I'll be honest, I blinked. It is not cheap.
It is not. But to really get the value, you have to understand the model. Most tourism is transactional. You buy a seat on a bus, you go to a place, you come back, and you never see that guide again.
Sure.
Halia uses a flat rate pricing structure based on your group size. They're essentially renting you the asset, the vehicle, and the guide, not just selling you a ticket.
Okay, so walk us through the actual math. What is the damage for this 3-day commitment?
Let's break it down. If you're a group of, say, 1 to 4 people, so a couple or a family of 4, the package for the 3 days totals $1,997.50.
Okay, so basically $2,000.
Watch what happens when you start adding people. As your group gets bigger, the price goes up and it doesn't double. For 5 to 7 people, it's $2,747.50.
Okay.
For 8 to 10 people, it's $3,497.50.
Yeah.
And then for a really large group like 11 to 14 people, it tops out at $4,247.50.
I was doing some back of the napkin math on this before we started. If you take that family of 4 price, that $1,997, and divide it by 4 people, then divide it by 3 days, you're looking at roughly, $166 per person per day?
Which puts it in a very interesting context.
Hmm.
If you go to a hotel concierge in Waikiki and book a high-end bus tour, not the cheap one, but the nice one, you're easily paying $150 to $200 a head.
And you're sharing that bus with 50 strangers and probably a broken microphone?
Precisely. So purely on a per-head basis, once you hit 4 or 5 people, that premium for going private effectively vanishes. I mean, in some cases, it might actually be cheaper than buying individual tickets for a big group on a standard tour.
But there's a catch with the discount, right? I was reading the fine print on how they apply that 50% off the third day. It's not just a flat discount off the
Yeah.
total.
And this is where you have to be a little strategic.
Yeah.
It operates on the equal or a lesser value rule,
The classic retail trick.
right? The 50% comes off the cheapest day.
That is a crucial detail. So if you're planning this, you want your 3 days to be roughly the same weight, I guess, to maximize the savings.
Exactly. And there's another wrinkle with group size. Let's say you have the grandparents with you for the first 2 days. So you're a group of 6. But on day 3, they want to stay at the resort, so you drop down to a group of 4.
Does the price drop?
Well, the discount calculation is based on the lowest price day. So if day 3 has a smaller group and is therefore cheaper, the 50% comes off that smaller amount. You can't use the big group pricing from day 1 to boost your discount on day 3.
Okay, so the math requires a little bit of gaming, but there was one logistical detail in the offer that I thought was actually the biggest selling point, maybe even bigger than the price.
The non-consecutive days.
Yes. Usually, when you buy a 3-day pass for something, the clock starts ticking and you have to use it Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. But Halia explicitly says you can split them up.
This is probably the most family-friendly feature in the whole package.
It changes everything. It turns it from an endurance test back into a real vacation.
It lets you manage the energy levels of the whole group, especially if you have, kids or elderly travelers with you.
So, we've established that for a group, the price is competitive and the schedule is flexible. But I want to pivot to the actual experience because the brochure promises 100% private and custom. That's a buzzword we hear a lot. What does that actually look like versus the, cookie cutter bus tour?
The source material gives us this menu of suggested routes, but the custom part seems to be all about the micro decisions. On a bus, the itinerary is fixed. If you love a lookout, you get 15 minutes. If you hate the lookout,
You still get 15 minutes.
exactly.
I noticed they specifically say you can choose more photos and fewer activities or vice versa. That felt like such a direct call out to the Instagram generation.
It's just acknowledging that people travel differently.
Yeah.
Some people are content creators. They want the shot, they want the perfect lighting, and they really don't care about the plaque on the statue. Others are history buffs who want to read every single word.
Right.
On a private tour, the guide works for you. You aren't held hostage by the average interest level of 50 strangers.
So let's look at the specific itineraries they suggest to fill these 3 days. Obviously, Pearl Harbor is the anchor.
It has to be. The description emphasizes honoring history, the memorials, museums. It's a somber, heavy day, but having a private guide there is interesting because Pearl Harbor is notoriously chaotic. It's crowded, the ticketing is complex. Having a fixer to navigate that for you is a huge stress reducer.
Then you have the North Shore, which is the complete opposite vibe.
The fun day. Surf towns, beaches, food trucks. This is where that flexibility really shines. If you're driving past a shrimp truck and it smells amazing, you just tell the driver to pull over. You don't have to wait for the scheduled lunch stop. It's a massive tourist cafeteria.
And the Circle Island tour is the third big option.
That's your overview. The scenic lookouts, cultural sites, just gives you the lay of the land.
I was looking at the visual evidence they provided, the photos they used to sell this, and marketing photos are what they are, but there were two that really stood out to me as defining the vibe they're trying to sell.
Which one's caught your eye?
The first one was titled North Shore Sunset. It's just this rocky coastline, dramatic clouds, the sun going down. It just looks so quiet.
And that silence is what you're buying. Think about a sunset on a bus tour. Usually you're rushing to get back to the depot because the driver's shift ends at 6, or you're fighting for a spot with 100 other people. Here, the implication is that you own the time. If the sunset is beautiful, you stay. You aren't watching the clock.
The other image was a boy snorkeling. He's just floating on his back, totally relaxed, clear water. It just screamed safety to me.
That connects directly to the review data we have.
Yeah.
Safety and trust are these recurring themes.
Which brings us to the human element, because we can talk about vans and itineraries all day, but with a private tour, you are basically trapping yourself in a vehicle with a stranger for 3 days. If that stranger is annoying or unsafe or just checked out, you've paid $2,000 to be miserable.
Absolutely.
Right.
In this model, the guide is the product. The car is just the container.
I went through the reviews, and they are surprisingly specific about the guides. It's not just, generic praise.
What stood out to you?
There was a review from Shannon66A on TripAdvisor about a guide named Michael. She called him a gentleman. But then Danielle L. on Yelp had a story that really stuck with me.
The Diamond Head story.
Yes. She mentioned that Michael personally walked me up and down Diamond Head. Now, for anyone who hasn't been, Diamond Head is a hike. It's steep. It's hot. Most drivers would drop you at the trailhead, go smoke a cigarette in the AC, and wait for you to come back.
That is the difference between a driver and a guide. He saw that she might need some help or maybe just encouragement, and he did the hike with her. That is a level of service that goes way beyond the job description.
Then there's Richard H. He's kind of the business traveler archetype.
This was the most critical review for me from a trust perspective. He was in Honolulu for work. He couldn't be with his family during the day, so he essentially handed his wife, and this is the key part, his teenagers over to the company.
And teenagers are the ultimate stress test for any tour guide. If a teen is bored or thinks the guide is cringe, everyone is going to have a bad day.
Richard noted the guide was warm, fun, and knowledgeable. But more importantly, he said he felt confident handing over responsibility for his family's safety. That's a massive leap of faith for a parent, It implies the company isn't just hiring anyone with a driver's license. They're vetting for personality.
We also had Vinay S., who was organizing a trip for his parents who were first-time visitors.
Right. And when you're sending elderly parents somewhere they've never been, you're not looking for high adventure. You're looking for reliability, for accessibility. You want to know they won't be stranded or rushed.
Speaking of accessibility, we should get into the nitty-gritty logistics, because this isn't all perfect. There are limitations, and if you don't know about them, you could be in for a rude awakening.
The most important one is the vehicle limitation. The source material is very clear. These vans do not have wheelchair lifts.
That is a deal breaker for some families.
It is. Guests have to be able to get in and out of the vehicle on their own. They can take collapsible wheelchairs if they're under 50 pounds, but the passenger has to be mobile enough to make that transfer into the seat.
Okay, now what about the hidden costs? You pay your $2,000 package price. Is everything else covered?
No. And this is where the budget can creep up if you aren't careful. The price covers the service, the car, the gas, the guide, the planning. It does not cover lodging, obviously.
Yeah.
But it also doesn't cover your food or drinks.
So lunch is on you.
Lunch is on you. And more importantly, admission fees are on you. If you go to the Polynesian Cultural Center or the specialized museums at Pearl Harbor, those tickets are not included in the Halia price.
So for a family of 4, admission tickets could easily add another few $100s to the trip.
Easily. And equipment rentals, kayaks, stand-up paddleboards, those are extra too. And of course, gratuities.
Okay, let's talk pickup. Where do they actually get you?
They're pretty flexible. Any hotel, cruise ship terminals, the airport. They also mention permitted vacation rentals.
There was a caveat there, though, about the rentals.
Legal and safe. Hawaii has cracked down hard on illegal Airbnbs in residential zones. So if you're staying in some questionable rental down a narrow dirt road where a van can't turn around, or where the neighbors are hostile to tours, they aren't coming to your door, you might have to meet them at a nearby Starbucks or something.
Okay, so let's say we've decided to do this. We've booked the tour, calculated the cost, picked our days. What do we actually need to bring? The source provides a checklist, and honestly, it's just solid life advice for Hawaii.
It is practical stuff. Number 1, reef-safe sunscreen.
And reef safe is the key phrase there.
Yes, Hawaii has strict laws about chemicals like oxybenzone that damage coral. You can't just bring the old stuff from your bathroom cabinet.
Yeah.
You need the zinc-based stuff.
Laxin drinks, too.
Critical. Even though you can stop whenever you want, you don't have to stop every time a child gets hungry. Having a cooler in the van, which they provide space for, is just key.
And the list says stuff to keep kids happy, which I interpret as bring the iPad, bring the toy cars, whatever it takes.
Whatever keeps the peace. But there is a strict don't list that people need to respect.
The alcohol policy.
Yeah. No alcohol and no tobacco in the vehicle. And the source specifically reminds you that alcohol is prohibited at public beach parks in Hawaii. So this is not a party bus situation. You aren't cruising around with a cooler full of beer.
Which really reinforces that family-friendly, nature-focused vibe of the whole company. It's about the destination, not the party.
Precisely.
So let's land this plane. We've looked at the price. We've looked at the buy two, get third 50% off deal. We've looked at the customization, the reviews. What is the final verdict? Who is this actually for?
I think if we synthesize all this, the package is a trade.
Yeah.
You are trading a significant amount of money for 3 specific things: customization, local expertise, and the complete removal of cognitive load.
We're back to cognitive load, the stress of just thinking.
Exactly. You aren't looking for parking. You aren't checking Yelp reviews for lunch because the guide already knows the spot. You aren't arguing with your spouse about which exit to take. You are outsourcing the entire management of your vacation to a professional.
So if you're the type of traveler who loves the hunt, you love finding the secret spot, you love navigating the bus system, you love saving money, this is a total waste.
A complete waste. You'll feel restricted and you'll feel overcharged.
But if you're the Richard H. traveler, you're busy, you're maybe a bit anxious about safety, or you are just desperate to actually relax on your vacation, this deal is what makes the math work.
But the real value is that by day 3, that guide knows your kids' names, knows you like your coffee black, and knows exactly when you need a break. How does that change the memory of the trip?
That wraps up our deep dive into Halia private tours. Safe travels, everyone.